People are drafting new draft nuggets all over the place. Over the last 24 hours, Matt Moore, Krysten Peak. We got new draft intel on the Charlotte Hornets, and then we'll give you another mock draft today. It's all about the draft, baby. Today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that does include YouTube. Doug is acting like Adam Schefter on his phone with breaking news coming through his phone. I don't know what that... did you make a facial expression on your phone for some reason? What's going on?
Yeah, because I just downloaded the No Ceilings draft guide. That's when draft season for me really picks up. When these folks release their draft guide, I haven't had a chance to dig into it. I just purchased it. Maybe as we get into some of these names, I could scroll down very quickly and just give you some intel because, those guys do a great job.
It reminds me of watching NFL Live and seeing Adam Schefter on his phone, and everybody just understands it's Shefty, so he's allowed to be on his phone during this segment. Nobody else is, but it's Shefty who might be getting some breaking news as the show goes on, except you weren't getting breaking news. You were just getting a draft guide that you downloaded at the very beginning of the show.
I don't want that life. At the Combine, I saw these newsmakers like Shams walking around. I saw Shams on his phone, not deep into it, looking at it as he's walking downstairs. That's unsafe. That is unsafe. That is how one, tragically has an accident and becomes paralyzed from the waist down. I don't want that life.
Any real insider like that, Woj, Shefty, Ian Rappaport, they're a Shamsby. They're just a Shamsby walking around dead. They don't have a life. That's what it is. Shams Charania, the originator of the Shamsby lifestyle. I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 on 92.7 FM. There's Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also hosts Locked On NBA with Hayes and Matt Moore. And let's dive in to some Matt Moore intel because he had some stuff to say about the Hornets yesterday on his Substack, Doug. So here's the write-up from one Matt Moore, host of Locked On NBA alongside Doug and Hayes. Charlotte's probably keeping the number 4 pick. It makes more sense to just add another good player. If he helps Brandon Miller and or LaMelo Ball, great. If he's the sneak superstar and the best player in the draft, awesome. What a win.
That'd be great.
However, league sources have stated that they have taken calls for the 4 and not shut them down. The Hornets seem so far away that I don't mind the idea of a move back if there's another player they really like in a lower tier who they could just take with the 4th pick, believe in your scouting, as well as other assets. The Hornets have made it clear to teams they're willing to take on bad contracts and trade some of their veterans in exchange for assets, but haven't been able to get bites on bait. 2 big things here. Let's start with the 4th pick and their fielding calls, maybe trading back in the draft from number 4 before we get to the taking on bad contracts thing. Doug, what do you think about this idea if they were to go with it?
Well, I've said all along that, the 4th pick, picking in the 4th slot, I think would be valuable, so valuable that you could not move away from it. If A, the draft is strong, which I think it is, and B, if your team really is devoid of any kind of star power and you need to make sure you are giving your franchise the best opportunity to get a single star on your team. But I think the Hornets have hit in enough drafts with LaMelo Ball if he's healthy and Brandon Miller that they don't necessarily need to say, all right, we've got to take someone at the 4th. There's just no... And I would say the strong draft also plays on the other side of the coin, which is that I think they could move down a few spots and still pick up a solid wing prospect. There are a lot of wings in this draft, and the Hornets need both shooting and defense at the wing position. They need to add that, and I think they could do that. Honestly, I think there's an argument that they could do that just as well at 7, 8 as they could do at 4, particularly if they bring a guy in for a workout and they really fall in love with that player. So I would not be opposed to them moving down if it meant accumulating a few more draft assets that they could use down the line, or even possibly a veteran that could contribute next season.
So I also go back to last year, and I think about the Tijon Salon selection, and there were talks about trading up, possibly for Reed Sheppard, or Stephon Castle would have absolutely been a target there as well. But they didn't trade up because the asking price was too much, and eventually Reed Sheppard goes number 3, Stephon Castle goes number 4. Okay, now we're talking about the Hornets possibly trading back. They did field calls there, but they were worried that they would lose their guy in Tijon Salon because the Spurs were behind the Hornets. They weren't too far behind the Hornets. The Hornets didn't want to fall all the way back behind San Antonio, and so they just decided to stand pat and take their guy in Tijon Salon. That's all still on the table here. The only reason that they would trade back is because if they felt like they really could not find enough separation between VJ Edgecombe, Kon Knueppel, the usual suspects, maybe a different one, an Illinois guard we'll talk about because of Krysten Peak dropping some stuff yesterday. But if they really did view all of these guys in a tier, and then you feel like, well, I don't really care who we end up with, as long as we end up with more assets, a young, interesting player alongside whoever else is in this tier 5 spots later, whatever, however much later the pick is, then okay, maybe they would pull the trigger. But remember, they were reluctant to do this last season when they wanted, they almost, they didn't want to risk losing out on Tijon, which again, man, Tijon is just this mold of uncertainty. Like, he is a ball of uncertainty. And if you didn't want to miss out on that guy, and he is way more uncertain than any of these names in this tier that I'm talking about, then that's why I do think Matt Moore is probably right in the first part of his write-up when he says the Hornets are probably sticking at number 4.
Well, I think you have to bet on that because moving up and down in the NBA draft is a difficult prospect. And it comes with, I think, a lot of risk. And particularly if you move down, I think you're going to peeve some fans. Like, they're going to be peeved by that idea that, hey, you won 19 games last year. What business do you have trading out of a top 5 pick that you should feel lucky to have, by the way, because the other two teams that had better odds of getting the number 1 pick than you did slid past you in the draft. You should feel lucky that you grabbed the final rock as you were falling off the cliff. Just take the best player available. I love that analysis. Anytime that we talk about the draft, we'll get comments. Just take the best player available. Well, okay, but that's so subjective. Like, what you, particularly once you get beyond 2 in this draft, like Cooper Flagg, obviously the best player in this draft. Although I still think my hottest draft take is that Dylan Harper, who will most likely be selected at 2, is going to be the actual prize in this draft. Like, everyone has those 2 guys as 1, 2. But beyond that, you can make arguments that Ace is the best player. You can make arguments that VJ, that Trey, so at the 4 position. So I think that's a little bit silly in terms of analysis. And I think the Hornets, I would rather them run through their process and really fall in love with the player. And if they think they have to take him at 4, then great. But if they think they can move down and accumulate a few assets and they fall in love with a Cedric Howard or Kon Knueppel or whoever it is, and they think they could slide 1 or 2 spots, again, particularly if Ace falls. If Ace moves beyond 3, I think there will be a few franchises who are interested in calling the Hornets and taking that opportunity to take Ace, and that gives them the opportunity to move back and accumulate a few more assets. So I'm not opposed to it, and I think that speaks to I'm just not falling in love. I'm not definite about VJ Edgecombe. I'm not definite about Trey Johnson. I'm certainly not definite about Kon Knueppel in terms of their star power.
Right.
And that leaves me open to all kinds of options for the Hornets.
Yeah, I'm in a similar way as you are. So if that's the case, then I have to try to be as self-aware as possible. Is this scared money don't make none? Where it's like, it's too hard of a decision. Let me just move back and I'll just take whoever falls to me, which is a dangerous place to be because that is playing scared. If I was like, well, this is too hard. I don't want to do it. If there's a great package coming your way because another team, they have fallen in love with someone and they are willing to take the risk and give you whatever you want to move up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots, then great. At least you have this package to fall back on and cushion your fall. But it is a fall, and now you risk trading back and then getting whoever is left of your guys, and also that guy not hitting 2. So would you rather have the first pick of that bunch or the last pick of that bunch? And a lot of times, scared money forces you to pick the last pick of that bunch, and it doesn't work out, and now you just look like a coward and you didn't hit. So that's the frustrating part about trading all the way back.
I think if you take a coward, you won't be a coward. You will be investing in a coward, and I like that idea. But you also have to consider this, that a lot of the all-NBA talent right now has been selected in the lower teens. I mean, SGA was selected by the Charlotte Hornets, of course, traded on draft night. But Tyrese Halliburton, I think, what do you go, like 9, 8, 7, somewhere around there? Like it's not a requirement that they draft it to find that star talent. What is required is that they have a great internal process for evaluating these prospects way before this whole draft process even starts. And then once they get those guys into the workout, once they get them into the interview room, can you identify the players that are going to work hard every day to improve their skills? Because all of these guys are going to come with serious holes in their game, particularly if you're taking 18, 19, 20-year-old prospects. And so that's, the great teams are built and not, I would say, like, most great teams are not built in the top 3 picks. They're built, sort of in the late lottery. So if the Hornets have a great process and they feel like they can get that guy at 7 or 8 or even 5, it doesn't even have to be that dramatic. I think the Utah Jazz would be a team that would be interested in moving in accumulating another pick. So that would be trading out altogether. And so that would come with, probably a way bigger haul. I don't know if the Hornets are necessarily prepared to do that, but even if the Jazz fell in love with someone at 4, like an Ace Bailey, because they certainly are in need of star power, and they might believe that Ace could come into that locker room and dominate it in a way that would be comfortable for them, where it would be uncomfortable for the Hornets. It doesn't even have to be as dramatic as moving back to 9, 10. It could be moving back to one spot. I trust Jeff Peterson to be savvy in these situations.
All right, let's move on. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
I want to focus on the last sentence of that excerpt from the Matt Moore piece, and then we'll transition into what Krysten Peak is writing about. Kon Knueppel, could he be a Charlotte Hornet? That's still to come. Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Let's talk about something that doesn't get talked about enough: men's mental health. There's this pressure to always keep it together, to perform, provide, and never show weakness. But the truth is, real strength comes from opening up and taking care of your mental well-being. Every year, 6 million men in the U.S. experience depression, and that may go undiagnosed. But talking to someone, a friend, a loved one, or a therapist can make a huge difference. Therapy isn't just for crisis moments. It's great for learning how to set boundaries, build healthy coping tools, and be the best version of yourself. With over 35,000 licensed professionals, BetterHelp makes it easy to find a therapist who understands you. You can connect from anywhere, switch therapists at any time, and fit sessions into your schedule with just one click. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Talk it out with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Let's focus on that last sentence. We've been alluding to it with the cap, with what the Hornets might do this upcoming season. Matt Moore just outright reporting some of those things that we've been speculating about here, Doug. The Hornets have made it clear to teams they're willing to take on bad contracts and trade some of their veterans in exchange for assets, but have not been able to get bites on bait, end quote. So we've talked about this. We've discussed the tough evaluation year following another evaluation year where that philosophy right there does not land you a spot in the playoffs. That's not the goal anyway, to land bad contracts in order to get assets, with that being the prize, because the assets can't go out there. Future draft picks can't go out there and help you win ball games. I wanted to go see some of the teams that are possibly moving up to number 4 in this scenario, and then some of the bad contracts that I guess the Hornets could welcome back. So I started with the Pelicans at 7. I mean, I guess we could start with the Jazz, with you bringing them up. They got a couple of bad contracts. John Collins is on an expiring deal. That's not terrible. Colin Sexton, $19 million, is on an expiring in 25-26. Jordan Clarkson, $14 million expiring. Okay, they're at 5. I went to the Pelicans at 7. They have CJ McCollum as their big-time bad contract, but he's only 1 year left on the books. So Pelicans at 7. Nick Claxton at 25, 26 million, 26 years old. It's not terrible. The Nets are at 8. The Raptors have a bunch of big contracts where, like, none of them are just so terrible. It's just the Raptors feels like they have overpaid a ton to be as mediocre as possible. So I don't know if they'd be willing to get off of the Brandon Ingram contract, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett. Like,
no,
what?
They bet on Ingram. They're going to see that out.
I mean, yeah, but also you hear some rumors about Masai Ujiri pulling something big off. So I guess either way, it wouldn't make sense with a trade with the Hornets. Jalen Green, Rockets at 10. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Hornets would do that. Portland at 11. DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, Rob Williams, $13 million expiring. Matisse Thybulle expiring 11. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, that's so the teams aren't biting with the Hornets. I also don't know, just on surface level, looking at those payrolls, it's kind of tough to, again, in 5 minutes worth of time, it's kind of tough to make something happen. Now, the Hornets regime is going to have a lot more than 5 minutes, but I don't know. Nothing speaks to me looking at any of those teams going back all the way to 11 in this draft. And then do you want to fall all the way back out of the lottery? Like, now we're talking about close to out of the lottery, which I'd be uncomfortable with.
Yeah, why are they not biting? I think that's the question. I laughed at this. I laughed at the idea of Jeff Peterson just calling all of these folks. And they're like, Jeff, you've already burned the Heat. You burned the Mavericks. And you tried to burn the Lakers, and the Lakers wouldn't let you. And so now we're out.
He's a deal
You're
maker.
You're the guy at the party that keeps shilling the new crypto coin, but you've done it too many times now. And I'm sorry, we're not going to deal with you anymore because we're tired of losing first round picks for veteran talent that you sell us on that isn't really helping us contribute to winning. Oh, you did it to the Suns too. So no thanks, Jeff. I just wonder if he's like tried his trick too many times.
Yeah.
Now teams are fed up with it, and he's running around going, "No, please dump your garbage on me, please."
So, and I was focusing on the 4th pick too, but Matt does right. Trade some of their veterans in exchange for assets, which would mean LaMelo, Miles, Nurkic, Josh Green, Grant Williams, any of these guys. And
well, here once again is where the injuries come to bite you, right? Because if the Hornets were even, let's say they missed the playoffs, but they were competitive last year. Grant Williams has a good season. Josh Green it looks serviceable because he's surrounded by better talent. Are these calls going a little differently? I think probably so. But two things are biting you. One is the injuries, but also the fact that I think it's so much more difficult to sell a team on LaMelo or Miles when they have zero postseason experience. And I don't count play-in. I'm talking about series experience. It's tough to sell teams on that idea, particularly at their cost.
Yeah, I also wonder if people, the Hornets catch enough strays. I had to reset the stray calendar today. The Hornets catch enough strays to where I think people probably do give some of these players benefit of the doubt because of the organization that they're in. Like, I'm sure some of it is just, I don't want that player who's never been to the playoffs. But a lot of other times it's, well, of course they didn't make the playoffs. It's the Hornets. They haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. That's not necessarily their fault. You put this person in our institution. Our institution actually makes the postseason. And so he's going to be brand new to this and he'll be just fine. So I wonder if that's happening anywhere. Like, I'm trying to look at some of the contenders, to go with one of the strays that I talked about, like Bill Simmons. He mentioned specifically some team like the Hornets are going to give Julius Randle this terrible contract, and it's going to be the only contract offer that Julius Randle gets out there on the open market.
No!
Like, you go to Minnesota, do they want to turn one of their big contracts into 2 medium ones that provide a little more flexibility? So would Minnesota come calling for, I don't know, like Grant? So do they let Nas walk and then they trade Randle for Miles Bridges and Grant Williams? So now you have your stretch 4 to some degree and Grant to replace Nas. You have Miles that can also provide some front court depth. So now you've turned, I guess, 2 players into something different, but you're trying to save some money. I'm trying to figure it out. Perhaps there's no bite because none of these trades make a ton of sense. Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out as well. And if you're in the apron, and you're past the first apron and you got to match the contracts, and it's tough, man. CBA makes it tough to make some of these trades, especially if you're a contender that's paying a lot of money to these dudes.
All right, fine. We'll just pick at the 4, okay? You've convinced me.
Oh, no, it's just interesting. It's just interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. I guess we'll have to pick at 4. I guess we'll have to take the top 5 pick. Oh, well, I guess we'll have to do that here in the Queen City. Let's get real quickly to Krysten Peek's write-up. Krysten Peek wrote, prior to the combine and draft lottery, Kon Knueppel's draft range was anywhere from late lottery to the end of the first round, but the way the lottery fell has certainly worked in Knueppel's favor. Teams like Utah and Charlotte are showing interest in the versatile guard and like his ability to seamlessly slide in alongside a star, ball-dominant player like Cooper Flagg and still find ways to positively impact the game. So I guess you're sliding him in next to LaMelo, who's our star player for the time being. What do you think of the Krysten Peek write-up? We have another one to get to, but the Kon Knueppel intel that she's getting, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much the draft lottery or the combine really impact. I haven't seen Knueppel. I certainly haven't seen Knueppel at the end of the first round. I mean, I've seen him.
Right.
He's always been a lottery prospect, I think. I mean, since Duke's season ended. I think the Cooper Flagg injury, like if you want to see the pivot point in Kon Knueppel's draft stock, I think it was the Cooper Flagg injury and how he played within the context of that Duke team that really opened people's eyes fully to what he was capable of. But he was a 5-star prospect going into Duke. So I don't know. I think he's always been. It's just been, is he going to go like late lottery or mid lottery or early lottery? But I've just never seen him outside the lottery. Look, in terms of Kon Knueppel's fit and Charlotte, like he's an elite 3-point shooter, which the Hornets need. Like how many times do we watch LaMelo Ball work some magic, through a double team or even single coverage? He works some magic, but he's covered. He's got to dish the ball out. He gets 2 feet in the paint. Tyrese Halliburton style. He's ready to kick out to the corner. Oh, God. Who is that shooting in the corner? Oh, no. There's no way that's going in. Like, they need a threat that can stand in the corner and be that guy that defenses have to take seriously. That's what allows those double teams to happen on Brandon Miller and to LaMelo Ball. That's what allows these coverages that are built to stop those two guys happen, because the Hornets don't have that player. That's an elite skill set that Kon has. The question is he Luke Kennard, where that's all he has and it's not enough? Or is he Desmond Bane, where you could build on his IQ and hopefully he builds his body and you can get him a little bit more defensive upside? Maybe he's not an elite defensive player, but you can build on that defensive upside enough where he's not constantly targeted, every time it's on the floor, because he can't lean back on athleticism. So that's the question with Kon. And I don't know the answer. I'm not confident enough in the answer to say like, ooh, yeah, the Hornets should make that bet. And a lot of that too is I haven't seen, it's a chicken or the egg situation. I haven't seen the Hornets take that kind of player because we're early into the Charles Lee experience. I haven't seen them take that kind of player and do that kind of transformation yet. They tried with Nick Smith Jr. It hasn't worked out so far.
So with Kon Knueppel, he's sturdy, he's stronger than and can do more stuff than your typical just put him on the 3-point line and have him be a sniper. People are worried about the defense part of a 3-and-D player. I don't think you would describe Kon Knueppel as that. He's a straight up sniper from deep, but he can do stuff. There's not any wasted movement with him. There's no wiggle to his game at all. It's shot fake, relocate, shoot. It's shot fake. Now I'd have a little bit of an advantage on you. I'll put you on my hip. I'll get to the paint, and then I'll throw a lob to whoever's in the dunker spot, and it's going to be an on-target pass. And Kon Knueppel can also get down low, shot fake, create some space that way, and then put up the shot. So there are some intriguing things what he can do off of the dribble, but he's not going to cross you up. It's going to be, again, throw you off balance with a shot fake and then go straight line, like go straight downhill. He's a north-south running back, if you will. And he is strong. Like, he's not soft when he gets into the restricted area. I don't think he's going to get knocked off of his spot a whole lot. I think that's going to help him defensively. I think when somebody tries to get into his body on drives, I think he's going to be able to absorb that contact. My issue is we saw that a lot in college, but now it's the NBA where all of these guys are stronger. All of them are craftier. They're going to attack Kon Knueppel, and I think more often than not, they're going to win. It's just, can he be a good enough team defender that can absorb contact to where he's not a liability on that end of the floor, and then you can reap all the benefits of what he does offensively. And if the answer is yes, he can hold up defensively. If the answer is yes to that question, then Kon Knueppel makes a lot of sense in the lottery, in the top 10, and maybe where the Hornets are selecting if you're not a believer in VJ Edgecombe and Trey Johnson and Ace Bailey. Like he's in play. He's in
98th percentile in spot up shooting, jump shot, 90th percentile, catch and shoot, 92nd percentile. That's the thing. If you want a player who's going to immediately contribute to the Hornets offensively, then Kon Knueppel's your guy. And if you're someone that doesn't want the Hornets to give up on LaMelo Ball yet, I think the strongest indicator that they're not willing to trade LaMelo Ball and they want to see this thing one more year out would be for them to select Kon Knueppel, because I think that's a player that says, hey, we're not about trying to find a star at 4. We're about trying to find a player that can contribute to the core, whatever core we've currently built here.
Last thing for him, best thing he did was showcase his ability when Cooper Flagg went out in the ACC tournament, when he was the lead guy and they still won the ACC tournament because of him being the primary ball handler. It was really impressive stuff. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
He's everywhere!
We got to go right back to Krysten Peak, who writes something about Kasparas Jakucionis. Could he be a Hornet? Oh, all this draft intel we got to comb through. Coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider, and if the first person didn't answer, you probably didn't wait. You moved on, and that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the number one business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. Open Phone lets you manage business calls and text from a single app. The shared inbox feature is a game changer. Your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat, and their AI agent handles after-hour calls, answers common questions, and captures leads so you never miss a customer. Open Phone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE, openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. More Locked On Hornets ahead. All right, we got to get to more draft intel. Man, I guess yesterday was the day to drop all of the draft nuggets. Let's go back to what Krysten Peak had to say here, Doug.
Take a peek.
Take a peek with Krysten Peak. I like it. He could go as high as number 6 to Charlotte, which, typo, could go as high as number 6 to Charlotte. The Hornets kept things very quiet all the way up until draft day last year when they surprised a lot of people and selected Tijan Salan. But Kasparas Jakucionis could be another player that the Hornets are quietly targeting this year. I tweeted that as soon as this dropped, I tweeted out, whatever Krysten Peak tweets out at 4 p.m. on draft day is as strong as oak, because it was the only time we ever heard anything about Tijan Salan. In fact, Wes made the joke on Wes and Walker. It was the one guy we didn't talk about the Hornets selecting. And it was pretty true for us here as well, Doug. I mean,
our job now is to figure out who that guy is. We got to figure out. We got to wait a little while and figure out, like, who have we not talked about?
It's so true. It's true for Wes and Walker. It's true for Locked On Hornets, where like we would mention his name, but not very much. We looked at a lot of other guys, and eventually he was the pick. Is Jakucionis that guy in 2025?
Well, let's then, if you don't want Jakucionis to be that guy, then I think we need to start talking about him, right? We need to figure out who we want them to take, and then stop talking about that guy immediately and start talking about the players we don't want them to take. It's a little reverse psychology. But in terms of Jakucionis, yeah, this thing from Peak confused me, not only because of the 6th pick typo, which I think would be easy to make because she was on the Hornets last year when they were selecting 6. But then she mentioned something about them needing size at the guard position, and I'm like, I feel like they've got some good size at the guard position right now. I don't know that that's necessary unless they were going to move LaMelo Ball. I'm just not sure. But
you're talking about weight. Weight's the only thing that you don't have with Miller and Ball. You have height though.
Yeah, I guess so. 6'6", 205. I mean, is that enough? Is Jakucionis Yakuchunkus? Like, is that good?
No,
Yeah,
Yonku
I don't think
Chonky?
so.
No, he's not that.
But he does have great basketball IQ. Like, if you could play he and LaMelo Ball together, that would be just a few great brains playing the game of basketball. But again, same thing with Knueppel. Like, you're giving up athleticism. It feels like he has good instincts on the ball, off ball. It can get a little bit interesting. Probably needs some work there defensively. Playmaking great, shooting. I don't know. Yeah, this doesn't make much sense to me. I'll say if they did this at 4, I would not criticize anyone for booing this pick.
This is the one. Would you rather Jakucionis or Malawach at number 4? That's the hellscape scenario I present to you, Doug Branson.
He does look like a young David Lynch. I don't know what that means for his prospects in the NBA, but I'm a huge fan of David Lynch. He looks like a young David Lynch.
So, unlike Knueppel, like, Jakucionis does have wiggle to his game. He will cross you up, or he will put you on his hip.
A little SGA wiggle.
He's fun. So surface level eval, reading this and then going through like the whole 15-minute highlight montage. I didn't watch a lot of Illinois basketball this year. I didn't watch any of his defensive tape. I watched the no ceilings breakdown, and I watched some of the just highlights that are on YouTube, just trying to pick and choose what makes sense. But surface level eval, I like, man. I will say off ball, secondary ball handler can absolutely handle secondary playmaking duties. And I agree, like Jake Heilman writes this on the Ringer Draft Guide, that he's not deterred from the bad turnover percentage from him. So I know we talked about turnovers being a big thing in the postseason, taking care of the ball and then forcing turnovers. That's a big deal. But it does show your creativity, right? Like, I do like that you have the vision to try some of these crazy passes that end up working out for you a lot of times. And sometimes you're going to give the other team a possession. But I kind of like ironing that out. I'd rather, I like that you have this vision. Let's tail it back just a tiny bit. But you'll figure it out in 3 years worth of time, when to take the risk and when not to. Some of the shooting numbers, especially coming off of screens, and the pull-up three-point percentage is not great, but it's also comparable to some really good shooters pre-draft process, like Damian Lillard before he went to the NBA, Tyrese Halliburton before he got drafted. Some pretty impressive shooters, and this is all from No Ceilings, by the way, on YouTube. They had like a 10-minute video. So, yeah, I'm actually intrigued by him. If they traded back, I'd be welcoming of this option. Number 4 seems a little too high, but if they traded back and collected some assets, then yeah, Jakucionis, he's the type of guy I usually just say, if you trust your scouting, like Matt Moore said, take the guy at 4 and who cares what people say. This is one that's still a little too rich for me. Taking Jakucionis at 4 is a little rich. Trade back, I'd be much more comfortable with that scenario.
Now, if you're someone that thinks that the Hornets should trade LaMelo Ball and get what they can before he injures his ankle again, then this is your guy. This is your pick, because this pick at 4 particularly would indicate to me, if they're willing to pay Jakucionis $10 million a year with the 4th pick, then I'm thinking, okay, Ball's going. I don't know where Ball's going, but he ain't staying here.
All right, mock draft time. You have another mock draft for us? Day 45 of 61. We're basically 75% of the way through. It's been a hell of a journey.
I think I owe one. I don't even think I got to mine yesterday.
Who knows?
I've got a couple to get to. And now I feel like I've had 17,000 tabs open in this show. I don't even know if I still have one. So I think I'm going to owe 3 tomorrow. It's going to be Mock Draft Palooza tomorrow. I'm going to have 3 mock drafts.
Well, I think we counted the Malawach mock draft for our mock draft. We just had it in the first segment.
Count?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we only talked about it all show long, so I think it counts. I think it's fine. Speaking of tabs, though, I experimented with a segment one time on Wes and Walker. It didn't really work out. Wes was like packing his computer in the last segment, and then he'd have to bring it out and then mention like tabs that, I don't know, weren't all that interesting. But I tried a what tabs do you have open segment to like just kind of show the chaos of the show. And so if you wanted to tell the people what tabs you have open, perhaps that's a segment we could try to resurrect and see if there's any intrigue there. But if you have a lot, maybe there is some intrigue.
Well, I think it's more windows. Like I have 2 notes app windows that have like our rundown and then some other things in it. I've got, this one for Locked On NBA. It has a lot of tabs. I got to talk about Tibbs today, so I'm trying to figure out what the Knicks are going to do with their head coaching position. I like some people were joking that the Hornets should bring on Tibbs and bail on Charles Lee. That's ridiculous.
Were they joking? I don't think they were joking. I think they were being serious.
No, I think they were too. All right, I've got a mock draft really quick from this is what you do when you haven't done your research and you need a quick fix of mock drafting like I do today. I go to Mark Giannotto of USA Today, who has another mock draft by artificial intelligence, this time Grok AI doing the picks. Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe goes 3 to the Philadelphia 76ers, according to Grok. And Charlotte Hornets, they take, hey, how about this? We talked about him all show long. Kon Knueppel, high IQ and shooting, provides spacing for Lauri Markkanen and Brandon Miller? Wait a minute. Are we trading for Lauri Markkanen, Grok? What are you talking about? I love it.
I hate AI so much. I can't stand it. It's a real issue. God.
Well, something that was going, a tab that I do have open that was going to make this show, but it's going to get bumped, but I want to do it tomorrow, is I was doing my pre-show routine, looking around the Hornets newscape, trying to see if there's anything that I missed overnight. And I found a headline from Motorcycle Sports, and the headline reads as follows. LaMelo Ball poised to shatter the NBA under the weight of Hornets' epic trade rumors, ? This is Motorcycle Sports. I clicked into the article, and it's just all obvious AI slop, and I can't wait to read it to you tomorrow. Don't go read it. I'm going to read it to you tomorrow.
So did AI create the picture, the headshot of just what
there
you
was
would
no
expect
headshot?
from
it's
a
Harper.
Yeah.
It's the name is Harper Wright. That person exists. I mean, that's a name that is common enough that I'm sure that someone on this earth, the 6 billion odd people, someone is named Harper Wright, but they do not Harper Wright for Motorcycle Sports. That is a fake. It's all fake.
You know what I think happened with AI is they scanned all of the most famous authors of all time for the first names, and they just came Harper Lee. Oh, Harper, that's good. And then what else? Oh, they write Harper Wright. That's the name. Let's go. All right, that's it. Locked On Hornets, ending
Stay
with
tuned.
a Lauri.
Tomorrow, Hornet slop. Hornet slop report.
Tomorrow we talk about a Lauri Markkanen and Kon Knueppel pairing here in Charlotte. That'll do it. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. Go check Doug out, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Locked On NBA with Matt Moore, who we broke a lot of his intel down today, alongside Hayes on Locked On NBA. I'm Walker Mehl. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday, 12 to 3. Sports Radio 92.7 WFNZ. Have a great day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.